This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Heidi Adams-Fitzpatrick in for Esther Gitui-Hewitt. It is Tuesday, July 30th, and this is Africa 54. How safe are journalists in Tanzania? The arrest of a prominent investigative reporter sparks fears over press freedom in the East African country. In the first of a VOA four-part series, we bring you a closer look at the lives of child brides around the world. What is the worth of a girl? And the stage is set for a political showdown as 10 candidates prepare for the second Democratic debate in the U.S. city of Detroit. Tonight, there are major questions about the safety of the press in Tanzania following the arrest of a prominent investigative journalist. Eric Kabendera was taken from his home outside Dar es Salaam on Monday by a group of men who claimed to be police officers. Well, at the time, however, there was wide speculation Kabendera had been abducted. But police are now confirming that he is being held for questioning regarding his citizenship. Meanwhile, Kabendera's supporters are calling for his release on social media using the hashtag #FreeEricKabendera. Many are pointing to the disappearance of another journalist, Azori Gwanda, who disappeared 2 years ago while investigating the murders of several police and ruling party officials. Activists say both incidents appear to be signs of worsening conditions for journalists under President John Magufuli's government. Well, tensions remain high in Sudan after 4 children and an adult were shot and killed during a rally to protest food and fuel shortages. Security forces reportedly opened fire on demonstrators in the city of El Obeid on Monday. Sudan's ruling Transitional Military Council is condemning the killings as unacceptable. Meanwhile, thousands of students are demonstrating in the streets of the capital Khartoum and other cities to denounce the latest bout of violence. The killings came ahead of planned talks between the council and protest leaders about the remaining aspects of installing civilian rule. That's following the toppling of longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir in April. Well, those talks have now been called off. Moving south now, South Africa is recycling materials at a rate of just under 60%. That's according to industry studies, a statistic that's putting it on par with some European nations. But here, recycling is done by an informal network called Reclaimers. That's thousands of men and women who sift through trash to identify recyclables to sell. This vast high labor system fits with the nation's high unemployment rate and, as experts argue, is a different model of innovation. VOA's Anita Powell reports for us from Johannesburg.
One man's trash is another man's bread and butter. Luyanda Flotshayo has been sorting through Johannesburg's trash cans for 9 years. He's one of the city's 9,000 reclaimers, an informal network of workers who collect and sell recyclables. His job has big impact. Academics estimate that reclaimers collect and recycle up to 90% of South Africa's post-consumer packaging and paper. In doing so, they save municipalities up to $52 million in landfill space annually. It's becoming a global trend.
We find reclaimers in just about every post-colonial city across the world. Reclamation exists in contexts of high income inequality, so that you have people who are wealthy enough that they're buying things and throwing them away when they still have value or can be reused, and you have people who are so poor that they are willing to go through other people's trash to extract these materials to make a living.
Flotshayo, who studied banking but could not finish because of financial constraints, says he sees great value in his work.
We're literally subsidizing the community and the municipalities, actually, because an average reclaimer would collect about 200 kilograms of waste a day. You multiply that by 9,000 reclaimers, that takes it to about 2 million tons or something. That's a day. That's redirecting a lot of material out of the landfills.
It's grueling, messy, sometimes dangerous work. The hours can be punishing, and sometimes reclaimers find odd things.
I found a thumb. Yeah, that is. I just opened a plastic bag normally, you know, in a rush, and just jumped. And it just killed my day. I just closed the bin, took my trolley, and I went home.
Reclaimers in Johannesburg are trying to lobby for recognition through groups like the African Reclaimers Organization. Chairwoman Eva Mokoena takes pride in her work.
My area is clean because of me. The environment, it's clean. Like the work that I do make me to be more proud. Even people, they try to put me down. But I keep on flying this flag of being a reclaimer.
Sampson says her research has been eye-opening.
And what I learned from them is how that informal work, particularly in the case of recycling, underpins an entire, very large, profitable industry. And so what it makes me realize is that we need to change the way we think about the economy.
And that, reclaimers say, is what it's all about. A different way of looking at problems. Where most people see trash, they see opportunity and a chance to make their world a little cleaner. Anita Powell, VOA News, Johannesburg.
Well, it's just as well people are looking for alternatives because South Africa's received dire economic news on Tuesday with the latest data from its National Statistics Service showing the country's unemployment rate has now soared to its highest levels since the global financial crisis more than a decade ago. Second quarter unemployment rose to 29%. That's up from 27.6% in the first quarter. There are now more than 6.7 million people without jobs, and pressure is mounting on President Cyril Ramaphosa, who has pledged to deliver an economic turnaround. Senegal is one of the world's biggest contributors to plastic in the ocean. The West African nation's government is now set to crack down on polluters with a new law and fines. Serena Chowdhury has more.
For more than 10 years, Senegalese eco-warrior Modou Fall has been fighting to change people's habits of throwing plastic waste out into the streets with no concern for its effect on the environment. Covering himself in used plastic bags, he regularly visits schools and teaches children about the importance of rejecting the use of plastic. For him, saving the planet and the oceans from plastic pollution starts very young and at home.
People need to know that the state can't do everything because it's not the authorities that bring all of this here. It's the people. It's their place of work. It's their dumping ground. It's here, they just do whatever.
Senegal is one of the world's biggest ocean polluters, with one estimate putting it at 21 on the list among much richer and more populous countries like the US and India. The government banned single-use plastics of less than 30 microns back in 2015. But it's failed to successfully apply the law. And plastic bags are still an integral part of the urban landscape, widely used by small vendors, sandwich shops and at markets.
It's true. We should have enforced the law immediately, given that it is a law that dates back to 2015 and it is applicable. There was a delay when the law was voted.
The West African nation is now set to crack down on polluters, with plans for a new law, police interventions and fines of up to $85. But some environmentally conscious Senegalese are skeptical of waiting on the government for change to happen, like Copacabana bar and restaurant owner Babacar Chow.
You see, look at the beach, how beautiful it is. But at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., you come back and it looks like a dumping ground, because people bring their products and their plastic and they throw it anywhere.
Chow has joined forces with other locals and organizations to start cleanup operations on Dakar's beaches and streets, and plans to have a zero-waste business by September, with a water fountain and glass bottles, as well as a new coffee machine that doesn't use capsules.
And that was Serena Chowdhury of Reuters reporting. Now, here is a staggering statistic for you. More than 600 million women alive today were married before the age of 18. Married teenage girls are often physically abused, and their lives of chores and childbearing perpetuate centuries-old cycles of gender inequality. In a year-long project, Voice of America journalists worldwide took a closer look at the worth of a girl to reveal how a young bride is valued by two families, the one she leaves behind and the one she joins, and the cost to the girl by becoming married before adulthood. All this week, we will be bringing you their stories, starting today in Albania with Orkida, who was married at age 14 to help pay for her sister's surgery.
My name is Orkida Driza, and I was married when I was 13.5 years old. One of my older sisters suffered from a grave kidney disease. Both her kidneys were failing. Her life was really in danger. My mom decided to marry me off so my sister could have an operation. Because the woman who wanted me to marry her son was on friendly terms with the doctors at the town hospital. She worked with my mom and told her, "If you give me your younger daughter for my son, I will do everything I can for your other daughter to receive medical care." It was an obligation to my family, and I did it to save my sister's life. I didn't know what a husband was, and I didn't know what to do. I just thought we'd be like friends, and in return, my sister's life would be saved. Not only was he blind, he was an alcoholic who never came home. I was 13 years old, and he was 24. The marriage lasted 15 years. I had 4 children with him. I took it, I took it, I took it, and I took it. Then I left because I couldn't take it anymore. When my oldest Bologna was 11 years old, someone from the Egyptian community came to ask to marry her. I had no other way. I thought, whatever God has in store for me, even sleeping in the streets, at least my daughter would have shelter. I didn't know anyone who could take her in. I regret it deeply, but I had no choice. She was engaged at 11. At 12 years old, that boy took her to his home. Then when she was 13.5, she became his wife for real. My daughter has a good life with him. He doesn't drink. He doesn't keep bad company. He takes care of his family. He takes care of my daughter and their kids. At this stage of my life, I don't need a husband anymore. I am my own man. I have suffered a lot. What do I need a man for? Better to take care of myself and my kids. I am 40 years old. I am a grandmother. I call on all mothers. Even though we were married off while young, we should at least give a good education to our kids. You should be at least 20 to get married. I married my daughter off because we had no place to live. Where could I keep her? If I was in the house with her, if I had my own house like now, of course I would have sent her to school. She would have not needed to marry at 11, 12, or 13. She could have been educated, found a job, or learned a trade. I also would have helped her so that my child would be someone.
And Orkida's story is from the VOA special report, Worth of a Girl. You can see more of the project on our website at voanews.com. Tomorrow on Africa 54, we'll bring you the story of a young Tanzanian woman who refused early marriage. The Trump administration is tightening the eligibility requirements for people seeking asylum in the United States, making it more difficult for those persecuted because of family ties to be granted protection. U.S. Attorney General William Barr has ruled that those who seek asylum because of a threat against another family member usually do not have enough of a reason to be granted asylum in America. U.S. law states that people can seek asylum in the United States if they can prove a fear of persecution based on their race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a specific social group. Until now, the term social group was often interpreted by immigration judges to include families. So what do you think about Africa 54? We want to hear from you. Don't be shy. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address there is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook right now. Please watch and do share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 at voaafrica.com. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, Democratic presidential candidates looks to stand out at 2 debates this week. We'll have a live report from Detroit. That's coming up next.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
You're with Africa 54. Welcome back. Well, the stage is set for a Democratic showdown in the U.S. city of Detroit Tuesday night. Democratic Party presidential candidates will try to distance themselves from their rivals as they jockey for position in 2 debates this week. Progressive standard bearers Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren will share the stage on Tuesday night. Then frontrunner Joe Biden will fend off attacks on Wednesday. As Mike O'Sullivan reports, 10 of the 20 candidates square off on each of the 2 nights.
With a clear but shrinking lead in the polls, former Vice President Biden, with other candidates, paid visits last week to African-American civil rights groups. Still dominating the news were comments by U.S. President Donald Trump aimed at 4 minority members of Congress, which Democrats widely criticized as racist. Race became an issue in the Democratic contest when California Senator Kamala Harris questioned Biden's record in debates in Miami in June. They aired on NBC News. One analyst tells VOA to expect more fireworks.
This may be the final chance for a lot of those 20 candidates to make their mark, and the way to do that is by mixing it up with the frontrunners, being aggressive, and really attacking them.
Biden has also come under attack for supporting a tough 1994 crime bill, which Harris says contributed to the mass incarceration of minorities. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker has echoed the charge, and trailing in the polls may revisit the question. Another analyst says voters want to hear about economic issues.
I think they need to focus on issues like health care or on education policy or on job creation.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who ranks second in most polls, is struggling to keep his lead over fellow progressive rival Elizabeth Warren, a senator from Massachusetts.
We need a presidential campaign which energizes and excites the American people.
The debate offers a chance for the candidates to speak directly to voters, as they will in coming months, in smaller events around the country. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
And for more on what to expect from that debate stage, let's go live now to Detroit, Michigan, where our reporter Philip Crowther is standing by. Good evening, Philip. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Very well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Philip, this is an age-old tradition in American politics. What do these debates really accomplish? And will this evening's face-off do more for the voters or for the candidates?
Well, we're still so early in the process that for so many of these Democratic candidates, it's largely about introducing themselves still to the electorate. Remember that we're very early in this election campaign. There are going to be 12 debates altogether. We've reached only the second stage, and there are so many candidates that this debate, for example, here in Detroit, had to be divided into two. There are going to be 10 candidates on stage this Tuesday evening, another 10 on stage this Wednesday evening. So what can candidates do to really have an impact on voters? Well, first of all, they can try and create a viral moment, something that will be repeated on air on all US TV networks and channels for a long time. They can also attack each other, as was the case last month in Miami during the first debate when Senator Kamala Harris had that pretty aggressive attack on former Vice President Joe Biden. And the other thing, of course, that these candidates all will have to do, as I mentioned, is they will simply have to introduce themselves to the American people. With 20 candidates on stage throughout these 2 days, there are many who American voters will never have heard of, and let alone will have decided might be their right choice for the presidency in 2020.
Well, Philip, you spoke about viral moments, and of course we've seen a real backlash here in recent days and weeks after President Donald Trump targeted 4 Democratic congresswomen of color and then also Democratic Congressman Elijah Cummings. All those attacks seen as racially motivated. Looking at the lineup tonight, there doesn't seem to be a lot of diversity on the stage. Is race something that these candidates are likely to avoid or to address?
No, they're going to address it. There is absolutely no way that these 10 candidates this Tuesday night and the next 10 candidates on Wednesday night will be able to avoid the very thorny subject of racism. They will all be criticizing the president for what they will see clearly as racist remarks from him and racist tweets over the last few weeks. The only question is which one of these candidates is going to be the most aggressive toward the president. But you are absolutely right in talking about the lack of diversity on stage. This is generally a diverse field of Democratic candidates, but on this Tuesday night, it's basically a white field of candidates that we'll see here in Detroit at the Fox Theater in the downtown area of the city. On Wednesday, it's going to be a little bit different. For example, we'll have on stage Julian Castro. He wants to be the first Hispanic president of the United States. Not doing too well in the polls, but still, it would be a first, of course. Then there's Senator Kamala Harris of California. She would not only be, of course, the first female president of the United States, she would be the first female African-American president of the United States. So there's quite a bit of diversity in this field after all.
Philip, a wide field and a wide range of issues. Very briefly, what are the other issues that are likely to drive the questions tonight?
Well, there's going to be healthcare, for example, how much federal involvement these candidates might want to see in healthcare in the United States. We will be hearing a little bit about foreign policy, one would presume. Will these candidates want to re-enter the nuclear deal with Iran, for example? Will they want to re-enter the climate deal with Paris, signed in Paris? These are some of the elements that we're looking out for here at this second series of Democratic debates here in Detroit.
Well, Philip Crowther there reporting for us live from Detroit, Michigan. Philip, thank you. Now, every year we bring you the experiences of young Africans who have been chosen to be Mandela Washington Fellows. It's part of the Young Africa Leadership Initiative, which brings a select group of men and women from the continent to the United States for academic coursework and leadership training. The idea is for those fellows to then put that experience to good use back home. Well, here in Washington, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Tibor Nagy, told them they bear a great responsibility to create the Africa they want to see.
Empowering youth is at the heart of the U.S.-Africa relationship. Now, with your YALI experience, you bear a special responsibility to help build a better future for Africa, to empower people to be active members of their communities, and to be the force behind democracy, economic growth, and strong civil society. YALI is a program that can have long-lasting impacts in Africa, but that will be largely up to you. We want to partner with you to continue building opportunities for future generations of Africans, and this will be crucial to the continent's future success.
And that was U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Tibor Nagy, addressing 700 Mandela Washington Fellows. We'll have more for you tomorrow as that summit wraps up in Washington. Time now for today's health report. Scientists are warning that the most effective drug used to treat malaria is becoming ineffective in parts of Southeast Asia. They say unless urgent action is taken, it could lead to a global health emergency. Writing in the Lancet journal, researchers from Thailand's Mahidol University and Britain's Oxford University say parasites that carry malaria are developing resistance to a key drug combination across multiple regions of Cambodia, Laos, Thailand and Vietnam. Henry Ridgewell has the details.
The report warns that the parasite Plasmodium falciparum, which causes the most lethal form of human malaria, is becoming resistant to the first-choice drug, DHA piperacin. Patients are seeing a failure rate of 50% or more in parts of Southeast Asia. The report's authors warn the situation is so critical that the treatment should not be used in Cambodia, Vietnam and northeast Thailand because it is ineffective and so contributes to increased malaria transmission. Malaria experts say new treatments must be considered.
It might be opportune at this point in time to explore whether or not we should bring together different new classes of medications so that when the problem starts becoming more substantial, there is a solution potentially that works at the multi-drug level.
The researchers say urgent action is now needed to eliminate falciparum malaria from the region. Otherwise, the resistant strains of the parasite could further spread to other parts of Asia and Africa, potentially causing a global health emergency.
All it takes is a ship with infected individuals or a pool of water where the mosquitoes are getting into Africa, and then slowly that parasite establishing a foothold. The likely scenario, however, will be that improvement of healthcare on a day-to-day basis in Africa will create the opportunity for the parasite to evolve resistance.
Currently, malaria vaccine trials are underway in several African countries, but drug combinations like DHA piperacin remain vital in treating malaria, especially in countries with poor health systems. Since 2014, global progress against malaria has stalled. There were an estimated 219 million cases and 435,000 related deaths in 2017, most of them children under the age of 5 in sub-Saharan Africa. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
And that is our show today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks so much for being with us. Have a great evening. Goodbye.